kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company die, and I'll silence anyone who gets in my way!
Well, that's not just a good villain. That's a terrifyingly realistic one. Greed in its purest form. And now you wonder, could someone like him actually exist in real life? That's the scary thing about some villains. They don't need to cast spells or turn into dragons to be frightening. Some of them could walk straight out of the screen and into our world. The only difference is, in real life, they don't look like monsters. They look like bosses, politicians, or even your neighbors. So, which villains could actually exist? Trust me, once you see the parallels between these characters and real life, you'll never look at them the same way again.
I'll find her. I'll find her if I have to burn down all of Paris.
Now that's a villain who doesn't hide behind shadows or sorcery. He hides behind religion. And that's what makes Judge Claude Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame so chilling. He doesn't think he's a bad guy. In his mind, every cruel, twisted thing he does is justified in the name of God. That's actually scarier than 1,000 curses because history is filled with people just like him. Leaders, politicians, judges, priests, men who abuse faith and power to excuse their own evil. Frollo is the perfect example of that. He's not a monster because of what he is, but because of what he believes.
Yeah, boy.
He burns down houses searching for Esmeralda. He stands in a cathedral convinced God himself is on his side, while lust and hatred eat him alive. The guy doesn't see himself as corrupt. He sees himself as righteous. And that's exactly what makes him terrifyingly real. From people who were tortured in the name of purity, witch hunts where women were burned alive, to leaders who used religion to start wars, Frollo is a mirror of them all. Even now, we've seen figures twist faith to push violence and discrimination. Frollo represents the darker side of human history, one with no horns and magic powers, but with dark desires. When you strip away the animation, Frollo could be anyone with authority, hiding under the mask of morality. Frollo is not a fantasy. He's a mirror of human history.
Oh, yes, and the tapestries, and the draperies.
But I just finished.
Do them again!
That line right there tells you everything about Lady Tremaine. No shouting, no big gestures, no magic spells. Just quiet, calculated cruelty. She doesn't need to lock Cinderella in a tower or curse her with a spell. All she has to do is control her. What makes Lady Tremaine one of the most realistic Disney villains is that she represents something very human, emotional and domestic abuse. She's manipulative, narcissistic, and knows exactly how to make Cinderella feel worthless without ever raising her hand. That's actually the worst part. Tremaine's cruelty is subtle. She gaslights and she manipulates every situation so that Cinderella is the problem. Isn't that how real abusers work? They don't always scream or hit. Sometimes it's just the cold silence, the guilt, the favoritism, the endless "you're not good enough" that does the real damage. Lady Tremaine shows that perfectly. She doesn't necessarily love her daughters more than Cinderella, she just loves control. Her calmness only makes her scarier, to be honest. She doesn't look like a real monster. She looks like someone you could pass on the street and never think twice about. And yet, in her home, behind closed doors, she rules like a psychopath. Sometimes the most dangerous villains are the ones who smile while they're breaking you down.
You listen to me, boy. Don't go poking around in things you don't understand, or I'll be your worst nightmare. I'm Frankenstein's head on a spider's body!
This little guy might look like a cartoon mascot for a car dealership, but don't be fooled. Mr. O'Hare from the Lorax is one of the most realistic villains on this list, because his entire scheme is basically corporate greed with a smile on top. Think about it. He literally sells people air. And the scary part is, that doesn't even sound impossible. We already live in a world where clean water is bottled and sold back to us, where giant corporations control resources that should be free. O'Hare is just the exaggerated, animated face of that same kind of greed. He's basically the Nestle CEO who wants to own water. Or Nestle if they were 0.1% more evil. What makes Mr. O'Hare so believable is how he masks it all as business. He's not twirling a mustache or summoning demons. He's smiling, in a suit, telling people he's helping them, while cashing in on their suffering. And honestly, you could swap his cartoon factory for a real boardroom and you wouldn't even notice the difference. That's why O'Hare feels like he could exist today. He doesn't need to be magical or even physically intimidating. All he needs is money, power, and a world willing to look the other way while he turns basic human needs into profit. Sounds familiar?
For this will all have been for nothing! Anxiety, you're putting too much pressure on her!
Now here's where Pixar got bold. Anxiety isn't your usual villain. She doesn't wear dark robes, she doesn't swing a sword, and she doesn't even think she's the bad guy. And honestly, she doesn't even look like one. At all. Unlike most villains, Anxiety believes she's helping. She wants to protect Riley to prepare her for every possible danger. But in doing so, she overwhelms her, drowns out joy, and suffocates every other emotion. That's not fantasy. That's exactly how real Anxiety feels. Pixar didn't make her really evil. They made her relatable. Almost everyone has dealt with anxiety at some point, and that's why she hits so hard. She's not some outside monster threatening Riley. She's inside her, whispering doubts, feeding fears, and pushing too hard in the name of keeping her safe. Sounds familiar? Think about it. How many times in real life has anxiety stopped people from chasing opportunities, trying something new, or even just relaxing? That's not a dragon or a curse. That's an invisible villain millions of people fight every day. Anxiety is the real villain in our heads, pacing back and forth, planning for every worst-case scenario, every day again.
That's why he kidnapped our princess. That's why he ran away. Z is no hero. We are the heroes.
DreamWorks villain General Mandible from Ants is pure ideology. He's not plotting chaos for chaos's sake. He's chasing a vision of a perfect colony. I've heard that one before.
Hey, I've seen this one. This is a classic.
Mandible believes that the strong should thrive and the weak should be eliminated. He sees ants not as individuals, but as tools, resources to be used and discarded. In his mind, he's not a villain at all. He's a savior, reshaping the colony into what he thinks it should be. That twisted logic? It's the same mindset that fueled some of history's darkest dictators. What makes him even scarier is his calm, commanding presence. He doesn't need to scream. He inspires loyalty, manipulates others, and convinces them to march to their own doom. Literally. That's real-world propaganda at its finest. And it's terrifying if you ask me. When you watch Mandible again, you realize you're not looking at a cartoon bug. You're looking at the start of every power-hungry general who's ever justified cruelty as the greater good. No spells, no magic swords, just cold ideology and the willingness to sacrifice lives for control. General Mandible is someone straight out of history.
You, my little cowboy friend, are gonna make me big.
At first glance, Al from Toy Story 2 looks more like comic relief than a serious villain. He's sweaty, greedy, and waddling around in a chicken costume. But here's the thing. Underneath all that goofiness is a villain that feels way too real. Why? Okay, I know Al isn't trying to take over the world. He's not plotting some revenge. His goal is simple: make money. He's a toy collector who sees Woody and the rest of the gang not as beloved childhood friends, but as dollar signs. And isn't that exactly how big corporations see our nostalgia, or even us today? Al is that guy, hoarding treasures from someone else's childhood just to flip them for profit. He's greedy, lazy, and willing to steal a kid's toy chest if it means padding his bank account. And yes, Lego, I'm looking at you.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
That's what makes Al so believable. He doesn't need to be terrifying in a physical sense. His danger comes from the complete lack of care for the meaning those toys have. To him, it's not about memories, it's about money. And honestly, you probably know a real-life Al. He just doesn't wear the chicken suit.
Oh, but
Rapunzel.
Oh, come on!
Enough of the lights, Rapunzel! You are not leaving this tower! Ever!
Now that's not a witch. That's a sorceress. That's every toxic parent who ever made their kid feel small. Mother Gothel from Tangled doesn't throw fireballs, she doesn't need an army, and to be honest, she doesn't even need one. Nope, her real weapon is manipulation. What makes Gothel so terrifyingly real is she's just a woman who knows how to control someone by manipulating their emotions. She gaslights Rapunzel, telling her she's weak, too naive for the real world, and only safe under Gothel's control. That's not fantasy, guys. That's psychological abuse. And the scariest part, Rapunzel believes her. For years, she grows up thinking Gothel is protecting her, when in reality, Gothel is just keeping her locked away for her own selfish gain. That's exactly how real-world narcissistic parents operate, making their children feel dependent, powerless, and guilty for even wanting freedom. Gothel never raises her hand. She doesn't need to. Every cruel thing she does comes wrapped in fake sweetness, with lines like, "Mother knows best." It's emotional poison served with a smile. When you strip away the fairy tale tower and magic hair, Gothel is just an abuser. She doesn't need a spell book. She just needs her voice.
With the weapon by my side, all China will bow before me.
Now this is how you do a grounded yet terrifying villain. He's actually just a peacock, but then with brains, paranoia, and a fleet of cannons. And if you take away the peacock, he reminds me just of someone. Shen isn't strong in the physical sense. He's no Tai Lung. But he doesn't need to be. His weapon is his mind. He's intelligent, calculating, and always 10 steps ahead. What makes him so real is his obsession with control. He's driven by belief, a faith. He goes full paranoia, slaughtering pandas, building cannons, and doing everything possible to silence the threat. That kind of obsession, we've seen it before.
That could only mean...
Actually, no. We're seeing it right now. From dictators to warlords, the world has so many leaders who are so consumed by their belief that they'll wipe out and rout groups to protect their own power. Shen fits right into this. He sees himself not as a villain, but as a visionary. Someone chosen to reshape the world, no matter the cost.
Now I lent you money, and I don't see it. Do you know what happens when I don't see my money, Fagin?
Okay, fans, who remembers this guy? It's Bill Sykes from Oliver and Company. Man, I love that movie. It instantly brings back childhood nostalgia. The music, the New York setting, Oliver and Dodger. Okay. However, that's not what we're here for today. Bill Sykes turns the fun into something a whole lot darker. He doesn't need a throne or a castle. He's not magical, and even not theatrical. Nope. He's just a loan shark with a temper and a gun. And honestly, that's what makes him one of the most realistic villains Disney has ever put on screen. Unlike other animated baddies, Sykes doesn't bother pretending to be charming or funny. He's pure intimidation from the second he appears. Driving his black limo through the streets of New York, always flanked by 2 vicious Dobermans. He feels less like a cartoon character and more like someone ripped straight out of a crime or mafia movie. here's the scary part. Loan sharks like him exist. Predatory lenders, mob bosses, guys who thrive on fear and desperation. They don't care who gets hurt, as long as the money keeps coming in. Sykes embodies that ruthless world perfectly. There's nothing exaggerated about him. No goofy songs, no colorful costumes, no comic relief. Just a man who uses power, fear, and violence to get what he wants. And honestly, old Disney did villainy the best. My favorite villains are from those older Disney movies because they weren't afraid to make them genuinely scary. When you take away the animation, Sykes is exactly the kind of villain you could run into in any big city. Which is why, out of all the villains on this list, he might be the most grounded in reality.
Oh, Anna. If only there was someone out there who loved you.
Hans is this kind, handsome, attentive dream prince and everything Anna thinks she's been waiting for. But then the mask comes off, and when it does, Hans transforms from a charming hero into one of Disney's most realistic villains. He uses fake kindness as a weapon. He plays the long game, pretending to be Anna's perfect match while quietly plotting to steal the throne. And that's real. People like Hans exist. Manipulators who smile to your face, win your trust, and only reveal their true intentions once they've gotten what they wanted. Unlike the big, flashy villains of old Disney, Hans is subtle. He doesn't come off as a monster. He comes off as safe. He feels safe. That's what makes his betrayal sting so much. Because in real life, toxic people rarely announce their plans. They wait until the perfect moment, and then they strike. Hans isn't just a bad prince. He's a reminder that sometimes the most dangerous villains are the ones who look like the good guy.
Oliver, give me the child! Give her to me!
Who remembers that scene? Man, Monsters, Inc. is such a nostalgic comfort movie. The laughs, the creativity, Boo's cuteness, it's peak Pixar for me. What makes Water Noose such a believable villain is that he's not your typical monster. He's not scary because of his claws or his size. Well, okay, his looks may be a little bit too, but let's be honest, he does look like a crab spider abomination. But what makes him really scary is he feels like a CEO straight out of the real world. On the surface, he's the fatherly boss, praising Sully, acting like he cares about his employees. But behind closed doors, he's running a business built on exploiting children. And that's where Pixar nailed realism. Water Noose doesn't think he's evil. He thinks he's doing what's necessary to save the company. And to be honest with you, those people are actually even worse. It's exactly how corrupt CEOs justify their actions in real life. Profit comes first, and if people get hurt along the way, well, that's just business, right? What makes him even scarier is how easy it is to believe him. In the beginning, he feels trustworthy, even likable. You almost want him to be the wise mentor figure. But when the mask comes off, you realize he's hiding his greed the entire time. Replace the word scream with oil, or money, or labor, and Mr. Water Noose could walk straight into today's headlines. He's not just a monster in design, he's a monster in the most human way possible. From Judge Frollo to Mother Gothel to Lady Tremaine and Lord Shen, none of them needed magic powers or world-destroying armies to be terrifying. Maleficent turning into a dragon? Cool. Ursula stealing voices? Iconic. Scar ruling the Pride Lands? Legendary. But at the end of the day, these villains, they're human. They're the greedy boss, the manipulative parent, the abusive stepmother, the ruthless criminal. You strip away the animation, and suddenly, you're not looking at a Disney character anymore. You're practically looking at real-life possibilities. You could meet someone like them. Maybe you already have. Sometimes, the scariest monsters are the ones without any magic at all.